Hi guys, welcome to Tea Time with Rock. My name is Jennifer and we have today Harold Han. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Harold?
Yes, Jennifer, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for Ron McCary for this platform. I'm Harold. I'm a chemist. I am the co-founder and CSO at Vertosa. Recently, I found another company, PhytoRX, which is using Vertosa's emulsion technology to deliver CBD and CBG to reach a therapeutic effect to help patients and seniors. So let's talk all about it today.
Yeah, definitely. So I see that you are known as the happy chemist. That's super cool. I see that you are the chief science officer of Vertosa, the founder of PhytoRX, and realm of caring, the fundamental building of science, data, consistency, and patient safety. So we're trying to bridge the gaps between that as well. Harold, you've been revolutionizing the industry by turning hydrophobic oil-loving cannabinoids into water-based nano-emulsions. For a patient on an everyday consumer, why does bioavailability matter so much, and how does your work change the unpredictable waiting game of traditional edibles?
Wow, Jennifer, that's a big question.
Yeah.
That's a big question. Where should we start? I think we should start with the chemistry, the basic cannabinoid chemistry, because they're oil soluble, right?
Mhm.
And our body majority is water, and our body is great at absorbing water soluble compound. Like all the other drugs, like water soluble is effective to be absorbed. Oil soluble we have difficulty, right? Everybody's body are different, so the effectiveness of absorbing them, each cannabinoids are different. And then for patients, really to leveraging cannabinoid as a drug to help them with the conditions, they need a consistent absorption, right? And so that alone, it is a increasing the bioavailability is a never aging age topic. It is a topic that the industry continues to evolve, and we learn a lot, right? If you cut the droplets to be smaller, of course you're gonna increase the bioavailability because you have more surface area. The small intestines has a better chance to absorb and getting more, right? But if you go to the detail, each cannabinoids, they may have a different bioavailability, even in the same emulsion droplets. And the way you ingest it, with food at different time or different genetics, your digestive system, how it's effective to absorb all those cannabinoids, they all differ. So it is not a clean slate to say, this is definitely increased to this much. A lot more detail needs to be, obtained on this topic.
Yeah, definitely. And what we do know right now is cannabis oils don't naturally mix with water. So that's really cool how you're able to have that. Is that Vertosa or is that
It's
PhytoRX?
PhytoRX, this
Okay.
little bottle. Yes.
Yeah. And so would you like to tell me a little bit more about PhytoRX and thing like that?
Sure. Well, let's start with the name,
Okay.
PhytoRX. Phyto stands for the plant, right? The wisdom of the plant. We use 99% of human history. Plant is our medicine, right? But only in the last 100 years, we forget about that. We focus on synthetic molecules. It's one molecule for one condition, and we worship that philosophy, which is great because it developed, very many miracles to cure acute issues. But for chronic issues such as inflammation, sleep, stress, those single molecule approach have limitations. And this is where we realize cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, any of them, when they combined in a certain way, they do have lower inflammation property. They can boost our sleep, right, and improve our mood. So we say, why don't we, combine them in the emotion form, and make it water compatible. So I can show you, imagine this sitting in your kitchen counter as a senior, as a patient. In the morning, you can just do this,
Oh, wow.
right? So each pump right now offers you 50 milligrams CBD, 25 milligrams CBG, right? And then for anyone, they can just do this. You can sip on the CBD and CBG across the whole day. And how awesome is that,
Yeah.
right? So yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. They're mostly oil based, so it's really cool to see how they're water based as well. How does advanced emulsion technology help eliminate the guesswork for a caregiver or patient trying to find their perfect consistent dose?
Mhm. Right. So last conversation I talked about PhytoRX. Phyto stands for the plant. RX stands for rigor, scientific rigor. We can't just rely on the plants because plants vary a lot, right? That's the question. How do we increase the reliability and consistency when we especially talking to helping patients? And this is where the emotion technology come in to really increase the consistency. And I see this in two fronts. One it's really just before the mouth and after the mouth. So easy as that. So before you drink it in the bottle, our technology makes sure every droplets has a similar droplet size range, right? So around 200 nanometers. And their distribution of the droplet size is very consistent from batch to batch, from one cannabinoid to another cannabinoid. So the benefit of this is we are not only making a food ingredient, we're making a pharmaceutical-like ingredient, right? We want the consistency to be very, very tight so that this droplet size distribution determines not only the flavor, but also the absorption, the onset, the total bioavailability, right? So that is how much consistency we put into the product. But then after the mouth is once consumer drink this, because our body, when we absorb fat soluble compounds like THC or CBD, our body could be different, right? Even male and female, their genetics, their body composition can be having different factors when they absorb fat soluble drugs. So by using emotion, we already cut the oil into smaller droplets so that we offer the user a much easier path for them to absorb those cannabinoids more consistently. So you see, we're not only increasing the consistency within the product, but also the consistency well after you're drinking the product, right? To take the product. So that the two folds is really giving confidence back to the physicians. They know how many pumps each dose, and they know, oh, okay, after they drink it, most likely the patients may have this similar curve of PK profile. So those are the two aspects.
Having the accurate dosaging every pump. Why did you start this company?
Yeah. So I started Vertosa 8 years ago with my partner, and it is a because I my background is emotion chemistry. I study the relationship between oil and water and how to stabilize them. And but as a traditional trained scientist, I've been told never touch cannabis. That's a drug. That's going to ruin your career. That's all I knew. But then I'm really fascinated by this plant because it has dual identities, right? So it's ancient but also modern. It is a recreational but also therapeutical. It is celebrated but also stigmatized. So I'm just fascinated by what is this whole plant. And after I put into my efforts to learn about it, to experience it, I found, wow, this is what a society needs, right? This plant to heal us and connect us. And this is 8 years ago. We created Vertosa. So Vertosa's main mission is to provide water-compatible cannabis emulsions to the industry, such as we sell these ingredients to many of the cannabis beverage companies. As you know, cannabis beverages entering the mainstream as millions of consumers are looking for this product. But then when we talk to patients, seniors who go to dispensaries, they're really not satisfied because it's all about THC. Many of them are sugar-based or smoke-based. So they want high potency of CBD, CBG, other minor cannabinoids, no calorie, no sugar, right? So we thought, why don't we put our emulsion, CBD, CBG, non-psychoactive, and then put it in the bottle with a pump so that patients can pump it, anytime they want. So this will help physicians build their routine easier.
Like you mentioned earlier, the stigma behind it, getting into the industry and stuff like that, that's a very big thing. And as well as like making it mainstream, it's like being able to have these honest conversations with everyone. Everyone gets in here in a very unique way. And then to keep revolutionizing and helping each person with education and just helping them with relief as well with CBD as well, and just helping them understand behind it as well. What do you think are the biggest culprits behind cannabis products losing their potency before they even reach the consumer?
Mm, yeah. So cannabinoids, they are not only oil soluble, but also they lose potency, most of them in the air even by oxidation. So in the last 8 years at Vertosa's work, we spent a lot of time and efforts understanding how to maintain potency. Because when we put this ingredient into beverages, many things may happen, many reactions, different chemistry, packaging, temperature, pH, it all impacts the potency. But in all, for product like this, what we really care about is three stability parameters. One is microbial. We don't want anything to grow in here, right? So we have data to show even open to the air, nothing will grow. No bacteria, no mold will grow in here. And two is the physical stability, right? So if you sit here over a long time, we don't want the emulsion to be sitting on the top or sitting on the bottom, right? We want it to be homogeneous physically. So our technology guarantee that. But then the most important thing you ask is potency stability, chemical stability. This is where CBD, CBG, THC, they all oxidize at different rates, even in the bulk form. But now imagine we make the bulk form, we turn that into trillions of smaller droplets, emulsion droplets flowing within water. And oxygen is very rich here. So the oxidation potential in this bottle is high. And understanding what we learned from the beverage industry, we have discovered, a couple of very effective naturally derived antioxidants, such as vitamin C. Right? Vitamin C has been proven to be um, a golden tool for us to secure and delay the oxidation of the cannabinoids. So we have data to show that, our CBD, CBG in a bottle will sustain a potency stability for a very long time, at least 6 months, at least 12 months, sorry, in the
Yeah.
room temperature.
Right, because sometimes after a year, it loses its potency, and then every label has its expiration date as well. And then, so like your work at Vertosa and PhytoRX, it's setting a standard for reliability that aligns with rigorous data-backed quality that our ROC stands for. So, say for example, if a product says 10 milligrams of CBD or THC, a client needs to know that it's going to have that 10 milligrams of X, Y, and Z in there. Do you believe that, like the data-backed quality that ROC advocates for, about the consistency, everything in medicine?
Definitely. This is from where we are now, going into Schedule 3, going into the mainstream. And that we're not only talking to doctors who already believe in cannabis, we're talking to doctors from the mainstream, right? Directors from the hospitals. That is where they need to be convinced. But they need to be convinced why this whole industry is trustable, right? So this is where I discussed this with many of my physician friends, either within the industry or outside the industry. So what they see from especially people outside the industry, what they see is it's still for them recreational smoking, right? The how you would ingest cannabinoids
Mm-hmm.
play a big role, right?
Yeah.
If they see patients still rely on smoking a joint to get to relief or therapeutic effect, that alone, it's so far away from traditional medicine,
Yeah.
right? And so emotion is one of the tools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this is the only way. This is one of the way to give comfortability, right? Give a familiar form factor to the doctors there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like I said, the consistent potency, given the potency from the product is critical,
Yeah.
for the doctors to believe. And then not only they can believe, they can build a protocol around it.
Yeah.
How would you build a protocol not knowing how many puffs you're holding in the lung, how many milligrams you truly absorb?
Mm-hmm.
Well, by doing the PK/PD study of this form factor, we
Mm-hmm.
can truly get to know the absorption curve on the PK curve. And
Yeah.
then if for any condition, we have a therapeutic window, right? So therapeutic window is for this compound to
Mm-hmm.
be above certain blood concentration to be therapeutic, right? So then emotion have a very big benefit is the onset is really quick. The offset is also predictable. So if you draw this clear bell curve and show that to the physicians, they can build a routine around it. Right? They
Yeah.
can say, okay, I want my patients to have blood CBD over here. And based on this, I want John to take maybe 8 a.m. take a pump, maybe 1 p.m. take another dose, right? Based on the blood work. So you see, we're trying to talk the language they're familiar with.
If you could break that down for our listeners at home, what does that mean for their body would actually process this?
Mm. So cannabinoids are fat-soluble compounds, and our body absorb fat-soluble compounds mainly in small intestines, right? It's a long tube, right? That's why when you take a distillate product, an oil product or distillate gummy, the small intestines take a long time for it to emulsify the THC or CBD into smaller droplets so it can be absorbed. That's
Okay.
why the onset is very long. Well, we already cut most of the path for you, right? We are offering you a 200 nanometer size already. You
Hmm.
drink this, and this 200 nanometer droplets reach your small intestines. And from there to the mixed micelle, which is the form factor small intestine will absorb, this
Hmm.
path is very short.
Hmm.
So within a very short path, you absorb it. That's why you have a quick onset,
Okay.
right? Yes.
I was like, let's break this down so we can get to the nitty-gritty of it. That's awesome. Thank you. And then I love your philosophy that the future of medicine isn't just a single isolated molecule created in a lab, but rather a personalized approach utilizing a full spectrum of plant medicine.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, we talk about cannabis, right? So this is where I was involved with SCC, the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. Give a shout out to SCC. And the last year, our science committee, we had a newsletter talk about the comparison between FDA route and botanical route, right? FDA is one compound, usually synthetic, for one condition for millions of people, right? The benefit is it simplify the compound, it simplify the condition. It's
Mhm.
very vision tunnel, but it's simplified to two lanes. But then we expanding into millions of people because people's genetic are different. Some
Mhm.
genetic may react to this compound really well, positive. Some genetic may not react anything, so it's not functioning. Some genetics may react to negatively, the side effects, right? So that is the limitation of this approach. Well, when we change the input from one compound synthetically to multiple compounds naturally or technically, you change the philosophy, right? And then for example, for Phyto, and I think for a lot of other cannabis product, we're not talking about, we're not treating one condition. We are talking about the root cause of those conditions. So for example, why we put CBD and CBG in this bottle?
Mhm.
Because both of them have anti-inflammation properties. And after research, we realized many diseases are the origin from inflammation. If you lower the chronic inflammation, all those conditions will either relieved or go away, right? So this is where we're not here to promise we're going to treat your colitis or arthritis, but it may lower the overall inflammation, right? Your colitis may just be healed, right, in a way. So, and if we use this philosophy, we talk about treating the root cause. What other root cause are causing more symptoms? Sleep, stress, right? So those are the I just see those two philosophy as different. But again, I want to say it's not like one or the other are right. We're thankful to FDA approach, right? They save millions of lives, right? They give us miracles, medical miracles. But we at the same time we have to realize its limitation and where the plant medicine can be a complementary, not a competition, a complementary.
Realm of Caring, we run our observation research registries, ORR, to collect real-world data on how complex personalized cannabinoids therapies affects diverse individuals, and how can scientists like you and research-driven nonprofits like Realm of Caring work together to change the minds of skeptical clinicians and traditional doctors.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's a big topic. How to change their mind.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's hard to change people's mind,
Yeah.
especially people were educated for a long time, right, in the traditional way of knowledge. And I was educated as a scientist through my PhD, through my work at Biorad. So I know, when you have a belief that is so strong, you
Yeah.
have been learning for 20 years, it's hard to change. At the same time, I'm thinking about, what is the best way to convince them?
Mm.
I have one example. There's a grandma who just say, "Oh, cannabis is all evil." Right? I don't believe it. It's gonna be make you addictive, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So one day she has a back pain,
Mm.
and her granddaughter give her a CBD oil
Uh-huh.
with a little THC, and she took it, and they said, "My back pain go away. What
Yeah.
is it?" And oh, it's cannabis, and she immediately forget about the stigma.
Yeah.
So this example told me to really you shouldn't be head on. You shouldn't be just educated head on. Okay, this is good. This is working. You're wrong. Just solve the issue for them. Solve the issue, and they automatically become your ally, right? So we have seen millions of those cases happening around us, our family, our community, our uncles, right? Tried it and they forget about stigma. That's one way. But
Mm.
also, I'm really thankful to realm of caring organizations like you. I know you're collecting a lot of data, right? From physicians, nurses, and this data is another important piece because scientists, physicians, we trust data. Show
Yeah.
us the data, right?
Yeah.
But also the story, the data, but also I think the framework. So majority of the physicians or scientists,
Mhm.
if it's illegal, they
Mhm.
still can't believe it. The white government doesn't legalize it.
Yeah.
So they always use that as the last straw. So that this is where I feel very hopeful because Schedule 3 happened, right,
Mhm.
already. And it shows, yeah, there is medical benefit here, right?
Yeah.
And even though we don't have a legalization, but this is a great step towards educating the people there, right? And
Mhm.
then with Schedule 3, and then that will trigger more research from universities, hospitals, people use it more.
Yeah.
So now, maybe in 2 or 3 years, it's not cannabis doctor who believe in cannabis offer you the data, it's hospitals, it's institutions who offer you the trials, the observational trials, the RCT trials.
Yeah.
So that is what I see the meaning from Schedule 3.
How do you see Schedule 3 changing the industry? What do you think could potentially happen with your company and then vice versa, like in the industry?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Schedule 3 is a signal that I feel
Hmm.
the urgency of upgrading our ingredients. Because before Schedule 3, we can still use flour, oils, gummies, whatever you have available.
Yeah.
It helps. Even they are helping. They helps. But then Schedule 3 really allow us to see, okay, what is next? What is the standard for the industry? How we can convince more doctors? How we can bring cannabis into the mainstream healthcare, not the statewide, the mainstream. The mainstream needs standardization, proof, and data. And this is where going back to emotion technology as the foundation platform to increase the consistency, not only in the product, but also when you take it in the body, that
Hmm.
is meaningful and important because without that, if we continue do what we do, the data will be all over the place. I give you example. Two papers
Hmm.
do the same study of the condition. One paper said 100 milligrams CBD seems to have a beneficial effect. Another paper said 300 milligrams CBD. Why
Hmm.
is that? Why is using smoke? Why is using tincture? You
Hmm.
see, when we use different form factors, we have drastically different results. And the variability among people, even within the same people, is different.
Yeah.
And so, how can we reduce that variability and give confidence to researchers? And that is where I see our contribution to the industry is just offer them a ingredient that is effective, consistent, so you can repeat the results.
Everyone's endocannabinoid is very different. And what we do know sometimes is the endocannabinoid system isn't in medical textbooks as of this moment, but I hope in the future that they will be. And that'd be really cool to see how that could progress and just eventually with some educational standpoint on that one. The stigma behind it, it's like it was stemmed from racism, unfortunately. And so just having those conversations, just having them repeat and just being open and honest about it is just awesome conversation to have. As a scientist who came from a mainstream biotech like Biorad into the cannabis industry, you've seen both sides. What is the biggest scientific misconception the mainstream world still has about cannabis or CBD? And
Mm,
what are you most excited to discover next in your lab?
mm, that's a great question. I keep conversation with my old friends from the industry, right, from the biology industry, biotech, and surprised to me that they still believe cannabis is just to get high. They still believe that. The dispensaries, even though it's called medical dispensary, people
Yeah.
just go there to get high, right? To
Yeah.
get, and they go to the dispensary, they talk about which has the highest THC concentration, right? And that's the product with the best price. So, all this thing is pushing people to feel, yeah, those people just want to get high. The
Yeah.
patients want to get high too, right? That's all they believe.
Like, no.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, yes.
It's so crazy. It's like as soon as you tell someone you work in this industry,
And this is where I give you another story. We show this product to some retired pro athletes.
Mhm.
And, being athletes in this country, they know THC, they know flower, right? Their friends smoke, and they know how to get high. But when we show this, they say, "Oh, wow, for decades, this is my first time really truly here. You can heal my body, not smoking, but
Yeah.
not getting high. This is
What?
amazing. I've been knowing cannabis. I thought I know cannabis for 30 years, but now I truly know cannabis, the
Yeah.
potential." Yeah,
I ran the NCAA. THC was very frowned upon. It was always tested. If you got tested positive, you'd lose a season of eligibility. And so it was very stigmatized. Now the NCAA is not looking for that. However, in WADA, World Athletic Doping Agency, um,
right.
it's still classified as like it's harmful, to smoking and stuff like that. I know CBD is legal in WADA. CBD can definitely sometimes certain products out there could still test positive. I think I have three more. So, what are different ways patients can use cannabis for healing? So, in your view, what are the pros and cons of each?
That's a great question. Cannabis, if you talk about drinking alcohol, it's drinking. You don't see people smoking ethanol or right or smoking tobacco. You don't see people drinking nicotine, right? So they already have their own administration route. But technology can allow them to do many different routes, but they stuck with drinking or smoking. If you look at cannabis, you can smoke it, you can eat it through a gummy, you can hold it in your mouth through a tincture, you
Mm-hmm.
can put on the skin, right? Or most recently, you can do this, drink it.
You drink, yeah.
So that's generally a gift because each route have their own benefits. Like smoking is quick, right? If you need a quick relief, and you can get there. Eating gummy is discreet, right? You don't have to smoke anywhere. You can just pop it. Well, tincture are easy too. It's highly long time sustainable, right? It sustain the concentration for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Topical is enrich the local area. If you have a wound or injury right here, is local right here. If you eat it, it's gonna be all over the body, right? But then drinking cannabinoids right now, it seems to be is the latest form, right? But since I've been introducing this concept to physicians, doctors, they really, really loved it because they see this as a way to minimize the inconsistency and also maximize the absorption. So one tool can have both benefit.
I guess drinking is kind of like one of the newer things about that are coming in. So the bioavailability, the quicker onset as well, and just like seeing how each person can respond to it. And so, the pros and cons of each one, it's just depending on each person how they can tolerate it, right? Especially for the gummies, it's depending if the sugars and dyes are okay with them. The topicals, making sure they do a little test patch to just make sure
Yeah.
that it's right for them. Sometimes it could be good and sometimes it cannot. That one's like a hit or miss for some personnel. So definitely do a little test patch with that one. And then the oils, under the tongue, and then they can always give us a call here at Realm of Caring. We can help with dosaging. I heard your panel on CannMed a couple of
Mm.
weeks ago where you discussed why water compatible cannabis emulsion could be the next standard for patient care. For those who did not attend CannMed, what did you discuss? And what is the general reception for the audience? Any fun stories from CannMed?
That's yeah. CannMed's great. CannMed team, bravo to their team. They always treat us well. And we went to Lake Tahoe and really beautiful 3 days, right? Meeting the old friends, learn some new science. Um, but then my panel on CannMed is I moderate a panel. We have the biggest panel, five, six people on the panel, and we have physicians, nurses, doctors, researchers, scientists, and we talk about one topic. How do they see water compatible emotion changing their life to treating patients, to do research, right? And the general consensus is like what we discussed. Schedule 3 really put urgency for us to look ahead, to think about what is the next standardization for the whole industry to give to patients, to do research, right? And we can't stay with what we had before, right? The gummies, the oils, they still work, right, for patients. But to get to the next level, we need something. And emotion seems to just naturally click all the boxes, lower the inconsistency, maximizing the absorption, right? And it's easy to use, right? And for physicians like Dr. Tilleran, he mentioned adherence is a big issue. If you have to let people smoke or eating gummies or holding the oil in the mouth, it's just hard to adhere. A lot of people drop out. But if you say, okay, I want you to take a pump in the morning coffee every morning, it's your routine, right? It is your personal ritual. So that alone, just how easy it's to use it, that alone has a big impact, right? And for researchers, my friend Tony Ferrari from the same science, for any researchers who are looking for cannabis research for human or animal, reach out to the same science, SYM Science. Um, they help researchers do cannabis research for humans. And we're lucky to support some of the projects. And by supporting the project at Witness, the professors had a hard time doing the cannabis research. You, you have to adhere. The subjects has to take twice the oil, for two months, right? How can we guarantee they take it? And then in order to make a blank, the control, you have to make the flavor, the color has to be similar to the active. So what kind of bitter things you have to put in there to mimic the bitterness? Well, think about this. We can make blank emotions as a control. So the emotion, you just carry oil. We don't have any CBD or THC. So they look the same, they taste the same. So the subject, they don't know if they're getting control or not, right? And then we can emulsify whatever input they have, and we can put into a pump. And if professor said one dose is 50 milligram, we can just, do that in this spec. So imagine you as a research subject who is doing this research. You receive a pump, and the instruction is, okay, Jennifer, take one pump a day in the morning. It's easy to do, right? So when researchers see this form factor, they immediately think this is it. This should be the main form factor that researchers use to do a human study on cannabis. So I think the general consensus is yes, the industry needs to look ahead and determine what is the next universal ingredient that can help everybody. And a fun story on CannMed is Professor Mandeep. He presented CBC and CBG has showed really good early signals to help with pancreatic cancer. And then the CEO of Healer.com, Brad. Yeah, he talked to me right after the call, said, Harold, we have a patient going through pancreatic cancer right now. And if you have any CBC or CBG emulsion in-house, I said, sure. I made a call to our lab immediately, and we have the emulsion, and we ship the emulsion immediately within the week. So you see, when I tell the story in CannMed, people loved it because from idea to action within 24 hours, right? And this is the beauty of CannMed when they combine scientists, researchers, business operation together, right? The idea can be put into the action really quickly.
I find that really cool, the fact that you were able to help that person right away and were you able to get in touch back with the client and see how they're doing, anything like that, or
I'm glad you asked. I was testing Brett yesterday, and he said the patient already started using we give her two pumps, a CBD pump, a CBC pump, and but also she's following her physician's instruction. And I said, I'm rooting for her healing.
yeah, tracking patients' progress, knowing that they're not alone in this as well. It's like, why do you think guided use is so important?
Mm. Well, I think our industry talk a lot on product. And even this conversation, we talk about why the product is better, but how to use the product is equally important. And sometimes that conversation didn't get enough space because FDA pills, they have a protocol. You take 3 times, 1 time a day, right? That's it. But for plant medicine, like cannabis medicine, it varies. The benefits manifest in different ways for different people. And to get those benefits, you may take a different route than me, right? In early PhytoRX validation, where do you observe this trend? Some people take 2 doses in the morning, 1 dose in the night. That's his typical dose. Another person take 4 in the morning at one time. That's good for him, right? So it really you have to find your relationship, build a relationship with the plant. And that's where if we don't educate the user about this difference, they may lose the patience, right? They want to feel this instant thing from because
Yeah.
FDA pills, the cold, the fever, it's instant. But now this is where the whole industry needs to educate our patients. But I think on the flip side, this is an opportunity because of the technology and because of the environment we live in, we sometimes lose track of our inner feeling. How do you feel internally, right? We just get by. We just take it for granted. But now with plant medicine, I hope it is a vehicle for us to reconnect with ourselves.
Each person likes different dosaging depending on their tolerance level, depending on their circumstances, their genetics as well. That guided use, so finding the right product for each person is very individual, very it's a little hard out there. There's like a needle in the
Mhm.
haystack. And so
Yeah.
that's why our nonprofit was started. It was because of two moms. And so it was because their kids had multiple seizures throughout the day and they turned to CBD. And then now we've been here for the past 13 years and we're trying to help as many people as we can with education and just trying to help them find the right dosage, whatever that product looks like for them as well. For patients or clients, caregivers starting cannabis for pain, sleep, inflammation, or recovery, what should they track during the first 4 weeks to know whether the product is actually helping?
Mm. That's a great question. The answer of that question should be associated with the product form factor. If you're taking gummies or vape or tinctures or emulsion, the first 4 weeks will be different, right? How you use it, how frequent you use it, how you track. So um, we 9 months ago we launched PhytoRX, and for the whole 9 months we're not doing the marketing. We don't even have social media. Our main goal is to observe how people use it. And from our observation, the validation, we want to really learn how do we suggest people to use it. So recently only, we bring all the data together and we actually create our own 4 week protocol, right? Week by week by week, we want the new users to get used to it and have a chance for their body to experience it. So, the first week we said, okay, use one pump every day for 7 days. If you have a sleep issue, use in the evening. If you have other issue like pain, stress, mood, use in the morning. So that's easy for a week for your body to get used to it. Second week, is your sleep getting better? Is your symptom getting better? If your overall life quality getting better? Based on the three questions, we help you either need another pump or you need to switch the time from evening to morning, right? Morning to evening. And then the second week, just stay with 1 to 2 pumps. The third week is, okay, how is your sleep and symptom getting better now, right? Now we have 2 weeks of using this. So the third week is for people whose symptoms are completely improved, congratulations, you found your routine. Keep that, right? For people whose symptom is somehow improved, we say, okay, add another pump because we don't want you to take more. We want you to find the minimal effective dose. Add another pump. For people whose symptom is I don't feel any improvement, right? Okay, do 2 more pumps, right? So we have a survey, we have a real-time response to help people, to guide people. And the fourth week, the last week is, okay, if your symptom is still not feeling anything, we say, okay, you have the freedom to go higher now, right? Give yourself a chance to go higher to see if this product truly can help you. And then at 4 weeks, we do a final survey compared to day zero survey. How is your sleep, symptom, life quality improve overall? And we cannot guarantee CBD, CBG is going to help you, right? Maybe you need some THC. Maybe your symptom maybe we cannot help at all because your symptom is different. So, but again, following this 4 week protocol, we want to make people feel we're there for them, right? We're there to guide them, and we and educate them and give them a framework. And we're not deciding this is your framework. We're just guiding them. So hopefully they can find their routine and they become a customer.
Um, say for example, someone's a cancer survivor, their tolerance level might be a little bit bigger, so they might need a little bit more, depending on like chemotherapy clients. If they're on the autism spectrum, they need a little bit less and stuff like that. And so it just varies from person to person, case by case. It's really cool to see how your guys' company is also helping out with education resources as well. We have a hotline free of charge. So if, say, for example, anybody needs help and they just want some guidance, they can always give us a call too. And so, another
Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. Mhm. Yeah, I think this is a really, really important part because without research, it's all industry people talk about industries. We need third-party research, a trusted resource, right, to show us the data and to push this industry forward. So a couple years ago, I was fortunate to be invited to Johns Hopkins, and they were doing the PK/PD study comparing emulsified drinks versus distillate gummies or distillate brownies.
Mhm.
And I went there to use our formula to support the study. And the study I think is going to be published later this year. Has great results. But then through the process, I noticed it is really hard to do research in cannabis. Not only the license, the funding, and even the material, right? Um, this is where I see this urgency when I come back to think about how we can get this product, this ingredients into the hands of researchers. Imagine this. Right now, if you do mice study, animal study,
Mhm.
you have use oil usually, and you do a gavage, like you open the mouth of the mice, you insert this long needle of oil into the stomach of the mice, and you inject it, and everybody's stressed. The mice is stressed, you are stressed, right? And
Yeah.
how would you guarantee? And maybe the absorption is low for the cannabinoids, right? So one, you may not see the benefit. Two, if you see the benefit, how can you guarantee your peer can repeat this study,
Yeah.
right? So imagine this, in the future, we offer, standardized material in a little while. You have CBD, THC, CBN, CBC emulsion. We
Yeah.
have the potency. We know the absorption profile. And then researcher, you want to study 3-to-1 ratio? You just take three of this, one of this, and put into water and let mice drink it. Imagine that, right? And then not only mice, human
Yeah.
study. And like I said, the example before, it's really hard to do cannabis human studies. You have to blind the control. You
Mhm.
have to give them, they're familiar, they can drink it every day.
Mhm.
So This form factor seems to solve that issue. And then the bigger meaning of is if the ingredients is supporting recreational beverages, millions of Americans drinking, supporting therapeutic benefit application from here, and also supporting research. You see, that has a big impact because each area, each field can reference each other, right?
Mhm.
The safety profile, whatever you find here can be helping here. So I think that is where helping research is one of the key mission at Vertosa, especially with Schedule 3 happening.
Um, we have a national cannabis study right now, so those that are starting cannabis, they can take it. It is pretty difficult, especially with the humans. I've spoken to other researchers in the past, and they're just like, how do we measure how much they smoke in a puff? I don't know how many I took and how long I inhaled for. It gets a little hard and a little skewed and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
eventually having those human trials and research papers, because I think majority that I have been reading have been animal subjects, and so eventually having those human subjects and then just being able to see how it can compare and contrast the two. And then like there's like some research articles about like anti-cancerous effect, anti-tumorous effects
Mhm.
as well. And
Yeah.
so it'd be really cool to kind of see how that can affect, like say for example, someone's tumor is X amount of size, they start taking a certain product and it helps them decrease that size. We're like on a roller coaster and it's just like going up, 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 and we're like, okay, we're ready for this.
I have a call to action to researchers. If you're doing the research of biology, chemistry, study cannabis. Why? You're gonna have so many citations because I've been a researcher. I know to have a impactful paper, you have to find a very niche section because it's very competitive. Cannabis come in. We have each cannabinoids. You can find amazing property, right? And just let's do it. It's a virgin line, and you're gonna be known for doing the research. So please come in.
I feel like the cannabis industry is kind of starting to have like a little bit of a boom effect. And so having people come in with the education, like having that mentality of like wanting to help people and help people get healthy and just like live a better quality of life. That's the goal, to help people to live a better quality of life, less pain, just being able to get up the stairs, walk up, less seizures as well. Just like have
Mhm.
people just live a better quality of life. Our motto here. And so definitely want to branch that out to everybody else too as well. And is there anything else you want to share with our viewers? Anything that you like, fun, interesting facts that you have, any papers that you have as well?
I think be a good receiver. That's the message I have for you today. I have a article I want to draft with a friend of mine who is a nurse, and our conversation started with, okay, oh yeah, you were trained by nurse, traditional training. I was trained as a scientist. We
Mhm.
never Cannabis is never in the picture, and but we had our own path, personalized path to get here. So we are talking, we're collaborating. So that's interesting. How did you learn and trust it? How did I learn and trust it? So everybody have their path. So we are writing this article to talk about our own journey and talk about what is the similarity within the journey. It includes being open,
Yeah.
right? And two, being curious. When you see something, what is this? Why is it illegal? Well, a lot of people use it. Isn't that funny? And three, uh, worship truth, not the what you've been told, not what you learn. And being open will allow you to keep learning, right? I see a lot of people, my colleague, they stuck into the lane because they learn too much from the education, from the lectures, from the classes, from the hospitals. And that is the ability to unlearn, the ability to turn 180 on something. That shows how flexible your brain is.
Mhm.
So, and I think that is what cannabis can help you to lose the grip a little bit, right? And to help you to become a better receiver. So that's my message to a lot of people today.
Awesome, awesome. We want a growth mindset always. And so we love that. And thank you so much for spending some time with us
Thank you.
T3
Cheers.
Rock. Cheers. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.